Hi, welcome back to the log cabin. My name is Stacy, and if you're new around here, my husband and I live in this log cabin that we built ourselves, and we have no public utilities, and I cook on a wood-burning cook stove. And today I thought I would show you something where you can save lots of money for the new year and get healthy at the same time. Recently I did a video when I combined sourdough starter with some apples and made apple fritters, and I used ghee. And we had a lot of people commenting wanting to know how to make ghee, and so I thought today would be a great way to start. And a lot of people are like, what is ghee? And ghee is what you might call clarified butter. It's sort of like clarified butter. It's basically where you're going to take and separate the milk solids from like the pure butter fat just by heating it, and it will separate it. And when you do that, it is kind of cool because it gets rid of the lactose in the casein. So some of you guys that might be sensitive to dairy, you can tolerate it, and it's wonderful. And it's gained so much popularity recently, especially in the United States. A lot of people are on the paleo diets and the Whole30 diets, and it's gaining kind of like a new resurgence. And it's something that I cook with all the time ever since I've been a young girl. My grandmother cooked with clarified butter growing up, and friends would come over to my house all the time and they would say, your food always tastes so good. And checking my oven to see if it's warm enough. And they said our food just had such a good flavor to it, and it's because when you do heat your ghee, it just makes it taste a little more nutty. It makes the food taste much more flavorful, and it's just something that I love. I call it liquid gold. I love it. I use it all the time in all of my baking. And today we are going to be making it with 2 pounds of grass-fed butter. So we make the grass-fed butter here. But if you're gonna go and you go to the grocery store, just make sure you just need to go to the store and get, 1 pound or 2 pounds of a grass-fed butter, and then you can make this. So I have 2 pounds of my grass-fed butter in a pan. I like to use a glass dish because that way I'll be able to see the separation of my butter fat as opposed to my casein and my lactose. So all you're gonna do, this is so easy, because I've seen this at the grocery store, a pint for $21.99, and that is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, because you just get your butter, and what it's going to cost is a little bit of your time, which is hardly any time at all, and the butter. So, and it's something that is loaded with so many health benefits. It's been touted for years. I mean, I use this, you can put it on your skin. It's really good for your skin. It's actually very good. It kind of nourishes your colon. It's very good for your digestion and your digestive tract, just to help assimilate and digest your food too. And I can't tell you guys how I love the ghee. The ghee makes my food taste so well. You can do so much with it. I like to it makes the best popcorn. It makes a great stir fry. I did those apple fritters, potato chips, even eggs. If I'm doing baking, it just intensifies the flavors. And as you can see here, I need to make some more because I use this. This is by choice over anything, because we have lamb, the tallow and the beef. I use that, and then sometimes coconut oil, but really overall the ghee is my go-to guy. I use it really for everything because I think food just tastes so much more flavorful. So let's get to it. You just need your 2 pounds, because this is going to make about 4 cups or so of ghee. So if you did 1 pound, you're going to get about 2 cups of the ghee. So I'm going to put it in the oven, and your oven needs to be preheated to be about 250 degrees. You don't want it too hot. So I'm going to put it in my oven. Now I'm going to keep the ghee in the oven for about an hour or so, and I'm going to look at it, and it'll start separating. And the cool thing about the ghee is, early on in our off-grid adventures, I found out, I guess the way people used to find out about it hundreds and hundreds of years when they started doing it, butter doesn't really last if it's in the heat. We don't have air conditioning here, and hundreds of years ago people didn't have air conditioning, so the butter would be sitting out, and then over time it would get rancid. It wouldn't be good, but then you'll start noticing that the butter separates. So I would have my butter outside, or I'd have it here in the house, and it would get hot. We have days it's 95, 100 degrees for days and days and days and days, and I would notice how the butter fat would separate, and you could see the casein and lactose separate at the bottom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how they made it. So the oven's gonna, of course, make it go a little bit quicker. But if I have a hot day, I just make my ghee, basically, I'll just let it set out in the outside kitchen or here on the counter, and then I'll have ghee, and it's so, so simple. So you guys are gonna get a little bonus here. While I'm waiting for the ghee to cook, I'm going to heat up some of my leftovers. Our kids are all in town, so I had a traditional Armenian meal with lamb kebabs and some rice. So I'm gonna go ahead and warm up some rice. So I'm gonna put some ghee in my pan, just like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the rice in there. And the cool thing about the ghee is you don't need quite as much because it's an oil. So butter is a little bit more creamy, you would use more butter. The ghee I don't need to use quite as much. And the ghee has a very high smoke point, 485 degrees. I mean, that's spot on, way up there. Butter has a smoke point of 350. And how many times do you guys, put something on the pan and it starts to smoke and then your butter turns brown? That's not gonna happen with the ghee, because a lot of times I've left my pan on the stove, and when you have butter it burns, but like the ghee, I'll leave it there and it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot it, and you come back and it may be really popping and cracking, but it's not going to burn and it's not going to change the flavor. So that's why it's very stable, 485 degrees, it works out great. So I'm just going to put my rice in here, kind of make like a fried rice, heat it up, and we're going to have the leftover lamb with it tonight. Put our lamb in there. Oh, and if you guys can see, you can start to see how it's already starting to separate. Got to use my oven space wisely. It's been about an hour and I want to show you guys something, what's happening. So let's look at this. So right now, the milk solids have dropped to the bottom and the water is starting to boil off. Now as you can see, the top of it is getting a little brown. My oven, I put some wood in and it got a little warmer. So you guys that are on grid, you're not gonna have to worry about this. But you don't wanna burn your ghee. It may give it a little bit more of a flavor to it, but that's not gonna be a problem. I'm just gonna go ahead, my oven, I've turned it down a little bit, and you're gonna let it go for another, 20, 30 more minutes. So generally, it's about an hour and a half total time at 250 degrees, and then you're gonna have this liquid gold wonderful ghee in just a few more minutes. So I'm gonna put it in here for a little bit longer, and we're gonna get it in 30 more minutes. The time is here. It's time to go ahead and take out my ghee. And the good thing about cooking in the oven, it gives me time to do other things. Because a lot of times people will do ghee on the stovetop. I don't like to do it on the stovetop because I have to watch it. And this is so easy for me. I went out and did chores, I got my eggs, I took care of all the animals, and so now I'm ready to take it out. Look at that. The next step you're gonna do is you need to skim the top off. So let me show you a little trick. I use these little strainers, just like this, little metal strainers, and look how easy it comes off. Look how easy that was. And this is a special treat for my dog. So I'll just keep this, nothing is gonna go to waste here. And all I do is just take it, look at that. I used to use a spoon and it took forever and you can never get everything out. How many of you guys use a spoon to skim your stuff off? This works so easy. So if you haven't done it, try a little skimmer. It really works well. So I'm gonna get it all off of here. And then I'm just gonna wait, maybe 5 minutes or so. And then I'm gonna pour it in the jar. And there's a lot of different ways of doing this. I find this is the easiest way for me to do it. A lot of times people will now put it in a strainer. You can strain it through like a thin t-shirt or possibly cheesecloth. But after I've strained mine really good, what I do is I use a little ladle like this. And all I'm gonna do is I just skim it and put it in my jar, and I leave the milk solids on the bottom, and I'm really careful about doing it, and then that way I can get all the butter fat in there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and reuse my jar. And like I say, this, I use 2 pounds of butter. 2 pounds are about 4 cups or so of ghee. And if you use 1 pound of butter, you're gonna go ahead and get about a pint or 2 cups. So all I do is get my little ladle, and this is the best ladle. I love it to get cream off the top of our milk. See, I just have that pure, beautiful oil, just like that. And I'm just gonna skim it off. It's very therapeutic. And Molly, our puppy, is just waiting here. She knows she's gonna get a treat. She loves ghee. It's good for their skin, their coat, as well as ours. So if you wanted to possibly make ghee before, or you bought it and spent millions of dollars to buy it because it is expensive, it is so simple and easy to make. So simple and easy to make. And I try to, whenever I have my butter, I go ahead and make it, and then I try to save as much as I can. One of my favorite ways to use the ghee is on roasted vegetables, especially roasted sweet potatoes from our garden. It's so good. I chop them up, and then you just drizzle a little bit of the ghee on top of it, and it tastes amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm tilting this a little bit. I don't wanna get any of the milk solids in it. So I just tilt it, get the last remaining parts, and then nothing goes to waste. The cats, the barn cats, love the bottom part of this. And when I was growing up, my grandparents, they used to use the bottom part, the milk solid part, and they would spread it on toast. I remember my grandpa used to do that. So they never wasted anything either. So everyone's gonna get a bit of this ghee today. Some of you might be saying, you're sure spending a lot of time doing this. But when I've strained it before, a lot of the oil gets stuck on, you know, if I'm using a coffee filter or if I was using cheesecloth, and you waste a lot of the ghee, and I didn't like doing it like that. So I just do it like this. It doesn't take that much time. It's very therapeutic. And then I'm almost done. Here's your treat, girls. Sit. Sit. Okay, okay. Well, the dogs really enjoyed their treat, and so now what I'm going to do is put a lid on my ghee, and I'm going to kind of put it outside just to cool down so you can see what it looks like when it is cooled down. Well, Doug and I had a great leftover meal, and how many of you guys like leftovers? Why don't you leave a comment below on what your favorite food to eat is a leftover? So do that for me right now. But you know what? I put the ghee outside so it would get cooled off, and I just wanted to show it to you because this is something here living off grid that we need shelf stable foods, and this is totally shelf stable. Look how beautiful it is. So this is something that I could just keep here in the house when we have our summer days and we don't have the air conditioning. That'll just do fine. It might get a little bit more liquidy, but it's gonna be totally fine. And if I had a refrigerator to put it in, it's gonna last many, 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 many months. We have a root cellar now, so if I make lots of extras, I would keep it down there and it would last so much longer. But for years and years before we had a root cellar, I just kept it in the pantry and it does great. I have some ghee in there that has probably been in there for 3 years. So, you know, your nose always knows. So I always smell it, and if it doesn't look right, you know, if it has mold or something on it, I definitely wouldn't be using it. But it's definitely, for off-grid situation, it's a great shelf-stable food, and we use it for everything. And especially with, I love it with roasted sweet potatoes. That's my favorite. And let me know about your favorite leftovers in the comments below. Other than that, guys, you have a great day, and I will see you guys later. Bye.